Cyberpunk 2077 is said to have one of the most in-depth character creators ever seen in a video game. And before you even get to that crazy detailed character creator, you have to pick one of 3 life paths, which dramatically impact the way you play the entire game. See, Cyberpunk 2077 is a fully fledged RPG with skill trees and perks and honestly more in-depth player theming than any game I've ever seen. It kind of reminds me of Skyrim, but it also kind of reminds me of Assassin's Creed, but also looks way better than both of them combined. The sheer amount of replayability and options in this game is literally staggering, and it looks like that replayability factor was a huge marker for CD Projekt Red during the entire development of the game. See, from the get-go, you can play an entire playthrough and then start the game over again and have very few repeated interactions. Now granted, not if you did a 100% playthrough, but you get what I'm going for here. You can play through the game as a nomad, come back, play through the game as a corpo, and then come back, play through the game as a street kid, and your experience will be dramatically different each time. Obviously, the main story beats are still the same, but the way you interact with those story beats and the branching quests, dialogue options, clothing, hairstyles, genetic modifications, and more are just a few of the things that bring Cyberpunk 2077 to the forefront of gaming. So sit back, relax, grab a snack, and let me talk to you about some of the coolest customization options in Cyberpunk 2077. The first thing we're going to jump into is honestly the thing I'm most excited about, and that is Cyberware. In some recently unveiled footage, we actually got a really close look at the Cyberware system, which is going to be installed on you by our boy Victor. Shout out to Victor. Anyway, you might be surprised to learn here that there is an incredible amount of slots. Like, I had assumed you could kind of become robotic, but no, you can go full cyborg in Cyberpunk 2077 should you choose to. So to start off at the top left with the frontal cortex, where there is 3 slots and then an ocular system, which I assume is like connected to the frontal look, I don't know brains. I know ocular is eye. But just imagining some of the stuff that we're going to be able to install in our brains and in our eyes is insane. Because if there is 4 slots, you got to imagine the amount of things that you can put in these slots is astronomical. I wish we had a full list of all the cyberware available, but of course we'll have to wait and see till we get our hands on the game to get that full list. But stay tuned to the channel because I will keep you guys posted with everything I find inside the game as soon as it launches. Now moving on, we have the circulatory system. And I could be wrong here, but I think that's like blood, right? Please feel free to correct me in the comments, doctors, but I think that's blood and like spinal fluids and stuff like that. Maybe I'll be able to throw an energy drink in there. Obviously I'm kidding, but just thinking about the amount of stuff that you'd be able to put in your body as a cyborg to help you run better is getting the wheels in my head turning. That is followed up by the immune system and the nervous system. Immune system, I'm hoping, is making it so that the perils of Night City and maybe the more toxic areas, or if we're out in the Badlands a lot, that being in those areas can affect you less so than it normally would. I don't know much about the toxicity levels in Night City, but with all that smog, I've got to imagine that there is some pollution, and with all that pollution can only come and we actually have a shot of the nervous system being installed on V in one of the previous trailers. I'll throw it up if I can find it. Anyway, moving on from the nervous system, we have the integumentary system. And then it looks like a bunch of shoulders, so I'm thinking that's the underskin layer. So you have your skin, and then you'll have whatever the integumentary layer is. Next up, we have our operating system, and I was pretty sure this was gonna be Johnny Silverhand. And I was pretty sure this chip slot was taken up by the immortality chip that is the entire focus of the game. Seeing this in here though makes me think that that is going to be somewhere else and inserted on us somehow, or Johnny is going to be downloaded on us somehow, and our actual operating system, even if we change it, is not going to reset Johnny. I'm willing to bet also that there will be a moment where V replaces the operating system and is like, ha, you're gone, and Johnny's like, wake the fuck up, samurai. Anyway, under all of that, after all of that, we have the section that I actually thought was going to be in the game. We have the typical body mods. We have legs, arms, hands, etc. What I'm willing to wager now are the more basic of upgrades, even though it does include some of the fun stuff like the mantis blades. Let me know down in the comment section down below which of these sections you're most curious about. See, I don't know about you guys, but I myself am most excited for the mantis blades, but if I had to pick something else, I would say probably either the nervous system or the operating system. See, the nervous system I have a ton of hunches about. What I really think would be cool though is if we could alter our pain tolerance. And provided there's hot and cold areas in the game, it would be cool if we could alter how much we feel those as well. Obviously with the correct upgrades, of course. And then as far as the operating system goes, I'm just curious what changes come out with that. I really have no earthly idea what that would look like. We have a blurb from this screenshot, but we honestly just don't know what some of the other ones look like in game. So I'm really excited for that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And now let's move on to cars. And the reason I wanted to add this in this video is because it's a common question I've been seeing on a lot of platforms, so I wanted to put it to rest here. Early in Cyberpunk's development, there was obviously car customization planned. In a world where games like Grand Theft Auto exist, it's kind of hard to not give players the option to customize their vehicles. That being said, it was cut due to budget limitations, so you will not be able to customize any of the cars that we have. If they have re-added in some features such as changing colors, they have not expressed that publicly. The last thing that they said publicly is that it was cut due to budget reasons. And while that does really suck, it'll still be fun to be able to go and find custom versions of cars that you can only get from this one spot in this one driveway, not being able to recreate that car in another way. It will give all of the cars in Night City their own vibe and their own special flair, but I will admit it does suck that we are not going to be able to sit there and trick out our bikes to our liking. That being said, we do have a garage as V in Night City, so I'm not entirely sure where those limitation lines are drawn. Can we upgrade bulletproof tires? Can we change the color of our car, etc., etc.? We don't know. But what we do know about cars is that there is 5 classes. And those are as follows. We have the economy class, which is basically your lemons. They're crappy cars. You're gonna get them in the beginning of the game and then avoid them for the rest of the game. Next, we have the executive class. This is where all those nice cars that you see the rich people driving around in all the trailers, that's where those cars are coming from. If I were to wager a guess, I would guess that they are very fancy versions of economy cars, meaning that they look really nice, but they're probably pretty slow. And next up, we have the heavy duty class. So the cars that are built for running over rival gang members, etc., etc. Oh wait, did I say member or members? Multiple people. These are built for running over multiple people, taking bullets to the front of the windshield, etc., etc. If you need to do stuff like that, heavy duty class is where it's at. And finally, we have the last two, and what to me are the 2 best classes. We have the sport class, which is essentially the cars that you see whipping around corners, and then we have the hypercar class. And we have actually not seen any hypercars yet, to my knowledge, in any footage, which I think is cool. There's an entire subclass of car that we don't even have any footage of yet, so hopefully those are quote-unquote the end game cars. I have no doubt in my mind they're gonna wave them in front of our face all game. Somebody like Dexter Deshawn, or maybe another higher up fixer, or some fancy corpo, or maybe even one of the billionaire rock stars is gonna have a very nice car that we will only be able to get by the very, very end of the game. But that kind of stuff is the kind of stuff that makes Cyberpunk 2077 so damn cool. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, drop it a like down below. We're going to be doing a ton of Cyberpunk content coming up to the release and in the subsequent months after, so please drop a subscription if this is your first video of mine, only if you enjoyed it, and I will see you very, very soon in Night City with a brand new Cyberpunk 2077 video. My name has been Pineapple. Peace.